Welcome to a Little Tom Foolery, Rob Little and Tommy Ryman. A podcast filled with laughs and gaffs, guffaws and haws, and maybe a picture of a dog. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. Fools!
Good morning, good day, and good evening, and welcome to a Little Tom Foolery with your host, Rob Little, and our favorite co-host, Tommy Ryman.
Thanks for having me on the show again. It's fantastic to be here with our other favorite co-host, Rob Little, back again.
Yeah.
Did you have a good week?
Oh, my God, dude.
Good?
Everything's great, but let's just get right into it. I mean, holy smokes, we had so much fun with Pete Lee.
There's too much fun, so much that we had to divide it into 2 episodes. So this is part 2 of our conversation with Pete Lee for the Fool Nation that we're going to bring in.
Oh, you said it. Fool Nation. So, man, I love it so much.
He's a fabulous guest, so I'm excited to get into this interview.
Do you remember, real quick, do you remember when you were a kid and you used to watch shows and they would do like more than, like they'd make a 2-part series of the show?
Yeah, to be continued.
Oh my God. The show I remember them doing it in is the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they did a 2-part, and I was just like, I don't want to wait a week. I gotta see the General Lee jump that ravine, or something.
Will it make it? They've just
Right.
left. We don't know. Yeah, cliffhanger.
Right. So this week we got Pete Lee, and like you said, there's so much, and he was so fun. Oh my God, it makes me just want to keep bringing that more and more guests now. So let's get to our second half interview with Pete Lee. I never heard the story about how you got the Tonight Show, and I watched your little documentary or whatever about that.
Yeah.
Dude, I was bawling at the end.
Oh, wow.
Bawling.
Oh my God, dude. Thank you. That makes me feel good.
I'm almost about to cry now thinking of it.
I'll tell it for your listeners.
Tell it.
And apologies if I know you've heard it. I think Tommy's heard it and stuff like that. But this will be for the listeners.
Dude, before you even start, I already went and looked up the documentary because I'm like, I gotta watch it now and I gotta come up with something.
Oh yeah,
this is amazing.
You got to keep asking the universe for things. So if people are understanding what I'm alluding to right now, my career was pretty stalled, and that happens a lot in this business. You get ebbs and flows. You get something where you go, oh, this is the thing. Like this is going to be the thing where things get better, and then maybe things even do get better at whatever level that you've just gotten to. But then it levels off and your phone doesn't ring and nobody cares about you. And like this business is always tough. You can literally be opening for somebody playing an arena, and then the next night you're in Peoria. And
so true.
and like the owner, you're like, hey, can I get food? And they're like, yeah, but you got to pay for it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so my career had kind of stalled, and I was in a weird place mentally. And a friend of mine was like, hey, you need to do The Secret. Like The Secret is real. Thoughts are things, which the premise of The Secret is basically you say words out of your mouth, and we're all balls of energy, right? We're all matter. And so if you put energy out into the universe, it will start to become something. And it will create like a butterfly effect where that sequence of events will change and make things move forward, and it will materialize into something. So I'm sitting in my living room, and my friend was like, you should read the book, The Secret. So I thought about like downloading it onto my phone and reading it, but I'm decently dyslexic, and I've always had a complex about it because my mom and my brother, they're both Mensa geniuses, and they can speed read. They can read like 3 books a day, and I can read a book a month. But I am like an audio and a visual learner, so I listen to a lot of audio books now. That's how I get my information. And then I realized that The Secret was a documentary on YouTube, so I was like, I'm gonna watch it on YouTube. And there's this part in the documentary where it's so dramatic, and they've got, like, honestly, the way that they edited the secret documentary, it almost looks like they edited it like on iMovie with like the stock transitions, and then the music is even crazy because it'll be like, and now's the moment. It'll be like I'm like, are they using ringtones? Like, did this cost $1 to produce? Like what are you doing? Why didn't you use the secret and then get a good editor? The people that did the secret, they should have been like, we're gonna get a good editor, and then it would happen. So there was this point in the thing where it goes, now's the time when you should pause this program and wish for something unreasonable. And so I paused it, and I was like, all right, well, so my friend Nate Bargatze, he was at the stand one night, and Jimmy Fallon just happened to come in, and he has this amazing story about how Jimmy saw him, and then they went out for drinks, and then Jimmy was like, you're great, you should come on the show. And then he was on the Tonight Show, and then he did a sitcom with him, and it was all amazing. And so I was like, all right, if that's possible, because I know that Jimmy Fallon lives basically across the street from this comedy club, I'm like, I want him to come to see my show, and I want him to see me, and I want him to invite me on the Tonight Show. And then if I want to wish for something that's completely unreasonable, I want to get a standing ovation. And so I was like, all right. And then like I resumed The Secret, the documentary. And then 2 days later, I get an email that says, hey, you have an audition for the Tonight Show. And I previously had not been able to audition for the Tonight Show, not anything having to do with the current booker, but the previous bookers and the previous producers of the show. They had a mandate that you could only be on the Tonight Show if you were a brand new comedian that was making their television debut. And then the Tonight Show, and I'm saying this is a very positive thing, which I do believe it's a positive thing, is the Tonight Show really has given opportunities for a lot of people that were previously marginalized. They were previously overlooked in entertainment. And so it was essentially like, if it's your TV debut, or if you are someone who is previously not given an opportunity. And I didn't fit into any of those categories because I had already done Letterman, and then, and so I wasn't really, they weren't really looking for me. But the new booker of the Tonight Show, he was like, I think you'd be kind of the guy that Jimmy would like. And he was trying to sell the producers on it. And then finally they had a fallout on the showcase. And so I got to be a fill-in for the showcase, which probably meant originally, like, I was going to do the check drop. Like those showcases where it's like, I got a Montreal showcase, and then you're like, oh, they just needed 14 people. And like the people that book the Montreal aren't even in the room anymore, and you're like, you got all worked up for it. So I get this email that the showcase is on Sunday night, which, like, have you ever done a showcase on Sunday night for anything, or an audition for anything? It's
yeah, that's the hot spot. That nice Sunday,
Sunday
end
show.
of the week.
But if you think of it, that's probably the best night, Sunday or Monday, because you're not on the road playing a regular club.
Yeah,
well, yeah,
exactly.
But audience-wise, you don't think Sunday shows are gonna be
right.
Yeah, it actually was really great for me because I was on the road and I flew home early on Sunday, and then so I got to like work the set all week on the road, which was nice. And then I'm standing at the bar, I'm drinking a whiskey because I think whiskey's a vitamin, and I have anxiety, and so it was helping me with my anxiety. And the manager of the club, Adele, walks past me, and she was like, she had a look on her face like, you don't know who's behind me. And then the next person was the owner of the club, the late great Dave Kimowitz, and he looked at me like, dude, you have no idea who's behind me. And the next person was like, hey Pete, it's Jimmy. I just want to say, hey, Dave told me that you're gonna be on the showcase tonight, and the showcase, for the Tonight Show, and
Really?
I'm the host. Anyway, like he's so humble that he's like, yeah, I do a show. It's a Tonight Show. And the first thing that I said to him is, I go, oh my God, the secret is real. And so
did he really say what you said? He says,
He didn't really say those words. I think I was embellishing a little
Sure.
bit, but he did say several things immediately that were the most humble. Like even being like, "Oh, hey, I'm Jimmy," and I'm like, "I know, like I know, But he's so humble and cool that he's a guy that he doesn't assume that anybody knows who he is, or he doesn't do that. So it yeah, I think me saying like I was the Tonight Show, like that's sort of an embellishment, and like a how we talked about how you don't do crowd work, you play. Like
Right.
I like to, like, I studied at the UCB, and they always say like to heighten, you basically take a game that's fun and then you find other things. So I think I was doing that in that impression. But which, by the way, to do an impression of Jimmy Fallon, all you have to do is be like sort of out of breath, and oh yeah.
Now I thought you for sure were gonna say when you go, the secret is real, and he was gonna be like, right? That's the same thing I thought.
Yeah,
I was like, I saw your energy, Pete. I got it. Now I'm here.
I got it.
It's a big orb outside my window, and I was like, go to the stand.
Yeah, he's like, I got the Tonight Show from a dandelion
That's exactly what I thought. Dandelion wish. I didn't think that, but
those are good ones.
A dandelion wish.
You just have to blow out, though. Don't suck in. The wish does not come true. And it's just so painful.
You just cough, and then your wish ends up coming true because it's more coughing.
Just like wishes.
It's pretty immediate. But yeah, so then I immediately got invited on the Tonight Show, and then I was nervous to go there. Anxiety is something that's been a theme in my career, and anyway, which, by the way, I just got a laughing emoji from Nicole. So she liked the balls thing. So the ball update for the listeners, it's taken a little while for us to get an update, but she liked it.
My head went to, how did she already know? But you typed it into her.
I typed it.
All right.
She just wrote what every girl wants after sending a tit pic. That's why I send them. That's another one.
Awesome.
Well, now I'm gonna have to send her balls. Could you imagine if I didn't send her a dick pic, and then I just, like, the first thing that I sent was balls?
Yeah.
So
you got like a napkin covering up the rest of you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like a belly dancer would kind of like tease. I feel like if I sent balls and it landed, like, marry her, right?
That's a keeper.
That's a keeper. That's somebody that, for better or for worse, she will love you at the worst. Anyway, I've never told the Jimmy Fallon story and then talked about balls in the middle.
No, it's a good. It really flows well.
Really flows well with the balls. But so they send the fancy car service to go to the thing, and I'm in the nicest car ever.
Are you living in New York at this point?
I'm living in Queens, New York. Okay. So I remember like this fancy Cadillac having to come to my shitty neighborhood and kind of looking out the window and laughing at that. Like it almost felt like you remember when the limo pulls up to Julia Roberts' house in Pretty Woman, and she like leans over the fire escape and she's like, be right down. There's no elevator, so I'm taking the stairs. And that's what I felt like when that car came. But I ride that to 30 Rock. We get there, we get in the elevator, and like every single floor that it went up, I felt my blood pressure going up. Like, oh boy, it's happening. I was really excited. I was bragging to all my friends that this was happening, and now I got to do it. Oh, wow. And I'm so nervous. And then they had this thing called Pup Quiz, where they were like, the writers were like, what would be great? We have Gisele Bundchen, supermodel, on the show. And we're going to match her up with just like 30 golden retriever puppies. Mm-hmm. And so I get there, and apparently like the gate had spilled over. They had so many it's union. So like if you have animals, you have to have like a handler for each one of the animals. So there's like 30 puppies that had like knocked the gate over in their puppy green room. And then they had like ran out in the hallway. There's like 30 people that are like, hey, I got to get my dog. Which one's my dog? And then, of course, Jimmy's just out in the hallway with the puppies, and he's got a puppy in his arms. The door, the elevator opens, and he's like, "Oh, hey Pete, welcome to the show. Do you want to hold a puppy?" And so right away, I'm just holding a puppy, and I was like, "Well, how can I be nervous when the host of the show, like back when I did Letterman, it was like, oh, like you got on stage, and you're like, oh shit, David Letterman's right there,
Yeah.
and so." Like I'm like, how can I be nervous when the oh shit he's right there person at this show was like, hey, you want to hold a puppy? And so that was amazing. This puppy's licking my face. It immediately dissolved my anxiety. Then it was one of those two taping days where they were taping a whole of their show. So I just was I was hanging out forever. And luckily I had some friends come to the show, and we were all just like hanging out in the green room. But then as the time went on, the nerves started to come back, and I'm behind the curtain, and and by the way, Jimmy comes and talks to you. Like you see the roots in the hallway. It's like everybody there is cool.
So cool.
Like, everybody there is like, they're so cool. And so I'm waiting behind the curtain in my little suit, and I'm waiting to go out, and Jimmy starts to introduce me, and I'm like, oh, all right, here's the moment. Like I'm doing Kegels backstage because I'm so nervous. And then he's like, oh, you know what? This doesn't feel right. And I'm in my brain's like, what doesn't feel right? He's like, this doesn't feel right. He goes, I feel like you guys had too much time between that last segment. You're maybe like a little warmed down. He's like, do you guys want me to do some stand-up and warm you up for this comedian? And I'm like, what is he doing? And there's a man whose job it is. He's like, this guy, he's like a big ponytail, and he's like the coolest looking dude in the world. But there's a guy in entertainment that he has a union job where his job is 3 times a night, or however many times somebody walks out on the Tonight Show, he goes like this with the curtain, and then he pulls it back, and then he pulls it back again. And that's his job. That guy, like no celebrity that's on that show has a better job than that guy. That's the best job in the universe. Like if you were to go to Ethiopia and tell starving people that that's a job, they would be like, what? like, are you kidding me? That's a job. So I turned to that guy, and I was like, what is he doing? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, he's never done this before.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's a huge compliment, and also a little bit scary, because I'm like, what is this uncharted territory that we're in? So Jimmy just goes out, and he does so much. He does like maybe 5 or 6 and it's just like all jokes that he can remember from like whatever his brain can pick up from the last week. And he warms the crowd up, and then he's like, hey, you're probably wondering why I did stand up. He goes, this next comedian, he goes, he's like, he's done stuff before, but he's like, I personally feel like I have discovered him and brought him to you. He goes, I went out to a club, I saw him, I thought he was special, and so I'm bringing him to you. So will you please treat him like he's my friend? Wow. And the whole crowd, they're like Muppets. They're like, oh, if he's your friend, he's my friend, Jimmy. And so then he goes back to his desk. He introduces me. And when I come out, the crowd is already electric. Like we know those sets where it's an uphill battle. This was like I was sliding downhill, like just sliding downhill on one of those fun slides where I have that like slippery towel wrapped around me, and people had sprayed Pledge on the slide. It felt so easy. And my first joke hit, my second joke hit. My third joke was like the room was already boiling. It felt like a closer. And I was like, I don't even think that bit's that good. So I was like, what? I was like, what are they going to be like by the time I get to my closer? This is amazing. And then I told my last joke, and sidebar, comics ask me all the time. They're like, I'm doing a TV set. I'm so nervous. I'm kind of dreading it. And I always tell them, I'm like, don't go into it thinking that. Go into it thinking the best case scenario, and also understand that like right when you get to your last bit, you're actually going to feel a little bit bummed out because you never want to leave that spot.
Right.
Just remember, you're never going to want to leave. And so like as soon as you get out there, be like, I never want to leave. And I told the last joke, and the crowd just stood up, and I was like, whoa, I'm getting the standing ovation. Like the secret is real. And I I think one thing that people that aren't comedians don't realize is that we use a lot of energy on stage. It's we really do. It's like I'm trying to think of an example of it, but it's burning a lot of battery. And that's why a lot of times comedians don't do a whole lot during the day, because they have to expend a whole day's worth of energy connecting with people. It's like you're in hyper mode.
It's like your cell phone has 60 apps open at once and they're all running.
Yes, they're all running and they're doing the highest possible task that you could possibly ask them. That's what you're doing during that time. So in this 5 minutes, I had burned out all of my energy, and like I had used up every defense mechanism that I possibly could have used. So I'm just there and I'm raw and I'm vulnerable. And like I was like overwhelmed by this audience that's standing and cheering. And Jimmy saw this like deer in the headlights look, and he's like, oh my God, you're getting a standing ovation right now on the Tonight Show. And I was like, yeah, Jimmy. And
everything's like, duh, Jimmy. I can see
I was like,
too.
yeah, I was like, yeah, this is happening. And he's like, no, he's like, I'm not gonna let you not feel this moment. And so there were a couple of things that happened. He had thrown it to commercial already at that point, and then the lights had gone, or the camera light had gone off, and then they picked it back up where he ran up the stairs. But there was a little bit of editing there. But he was like, no, he's like right now, he's like, I can see it in your eyes. You're like you can't even process this right now. He's like, I'm not gonna let you not record this moment. And he like grabs my shoulders, and by the way, the crowd can hear my mic and they can hear his mic, and so they're just feeding into this. Like, and I was like, I'm gonna cry, Jimmy, and the crowd's like, fucking cry, you know? Like, rah! And I definitely got misty, and I was really emotional, and then and then he picked it back up and ran up the stairs, and it was a beautiful moment. And then I just was, like you're walking off the stage and you're going, what just happened? And then I open up the doors to the hallway of the 6th floor of 30 Rock, and Giselle Bundchen, supermodel, is running towards me. And she's like, yay, because she went in the back of the room and she watched it with my friends. And she was like,
then your friends are like, yay,
yeah, yay, we just watched it with Giselle. And
yeah.
And we join hands, we run to each other, we join hands, and we're jumping up and down going, yay, like two sorority sisters that haven't seen each other over the summer. And then she was like, that was so good, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, you were so funny. And I was like, we're colleagues, like, look at us. And
then she's like, sign my boobs.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what?
just immediate right away. That was the first thing she offered. And I was like, no, I respect your husband way too much. When's he gonna retire so Aaron Rodgers can win another championship? But she then like I went to my dressing room, and then the Roots came over, several Roots, there's a lot of them, so but notably Black Thought and Questlove, and it was so amazing. And then Jimmy Fallon came into the dressing room. I think this is a part of it that I really haven't told on any podcast. So Fallon came into the dressing room. He's like, dude, that was so great. He's like, man, he goes, the reason why I did that at the end is he goes, I really wanted you to process that moment. Cause he goes, I remember there was this moment where I auditioned for SNL, and he's like, I killed in my audition. And he's like, it's very rare. A lot of times people go up and they have to audition on that stage, and then they get almost no feedback, and then they end up getting it. And he's like, I somehow was lucky enough to kill in that room. And he goes, my defense mechanisms were like overwhelmed in that moment. And he's like, he goes, I don't think I was recording it. And so he's like, I felt like this was one of those moments for you, and I wanted you to have that. And I have it because of him. And that was also a cool story. And then you can actually go on YouTube and watch Jimmy Fallon's SNL audition and talk and like see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I thought he was also like, and here's a copy of my SNL audition too, so you can really see that moment too.
Yeah,
like,
do you want to see
thanks,
this?
Jimmy.
Yeah, do you want to see this?
These are all of our moments.
These are. I'm gonna make a scrapbook for you.
When Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead. Pete. Go
no,
ahead,
but
Pete.
that there's one last part to the story. But will you please put a Pinterest pin in what you said? So I don't know if you can see this behind me, but so this is my Tonight Show cue card, and I don't know if you can see drumsticks, but so Questlove had just come into the dressing room, and he was like, man, I really love that set. And he gave me a compliment, and I was like, thank you, Questlove. And he's like, you can call me Amir, because that's his real name. And I was like, I don't know if I can call you Amir, but okay. Which now I call him Amir when I see him, and it feels so strange and cool. But anyway, he was really complimentary. And then the NBC page came in with with this book to sign that was like, it was like it was almost immediately after that, and it was like, here, you need to sign this guest book. And then there were Questlove's drumsticks in it, and I was like, that is so cool. Questlove gave me his drumsticks. Oh my god. And there's drum marks all over the drumsticks. Whoa. And so I took them out of the thing, I put them in my gift bag, and then I actually like wrapped them up because they were special, put them in my gift bag, signed the thing, and then left. And 2 weeks later, my friend Mike Vecchione's doing the show, and he's like, dude, how cool is it that we get to sign Questlove's drumsticks and give them back to him? And I was like,
what?
Pardon? I was like, what? And then I told him, I was like, dude, I took the drumsticks. And then he tells Michael Cox, the booker, and then Michael Cox like immediately texts me. He's like, dude, we got to get those drumsticks back. And then I send him a picture of this picture where I have gone to Michael's Crafts and had them make a shadow box with the drumsticks in it with my cue card.
Oh my god!
And he's like, oh, we have a problem. He's like, you got to break that glass. And I was like, I'll break it right now. I'll break it and I'll go to FedEx. And I was like, I just want to be on the Tonight Show again. And he's like, wait, pump the brakes. He's like, we might be able to come up with a solution. And then what they ended up doing is they got different drumsticks from Questlove. They FedExed it to Paul Giamatti, Giselle Bundchen, and me. We all signed it, and then Questlove got the drumsticks, and then he didn't know any better. So I was at Dave Chappelle throws this party called the Comedians Ball in New York, where he just wants the comedians to all have a special experience. So I'm at the Comedians Ball, and Amir is there, Questlove, and we're both leaning over this railing watching this crazy show, and I was like, hey, I stole your drumsticks. And then I told him the story. I showed him the picture, and he's like, oh man, he's like, that means more to me that you wanted those, and that, you know, you guys went through all that effort. He's like, that's really cool. He goes, those drumsticks have a story. And I was like, oh, thank you, man.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's a great story, man. I was wondering what that was behind you, but that's cool. So that's the cue card when he announced you.
Yeah, it says there's
a bad glare
on
so we can't.
Yeah, there's
see
a glare on it right now, and then also my computer was dying, and it's like perfectly tethered right now, so I can't lift it. But it says making his Tonight Show debut. Please welcome the very funny Pete Lee, and then it says cue card number 2, which there must have been like a first part to that, and then there's Questlove's Vic Firth drumsticks.
Did Giselle sign those drumsticks?
No. So
nobody else signed them.
Nobody else had signed them. And also Paul Giamatti left really early. Like, and Giselle could have also left early, because a lot of times when people are doing that stuff, they're on like a press tour where they're, you know, they're like, Paul Giamatti probably went to Colbert right after that. He probably went to the Daily Show. He probably went to whatever. But like, it was funny because I was trying to not be nervous. And then I remember watching Paul Giamatti come in, and like, there's like a page that hands him coffee, and he's like, thanks. He's like, I need this. And I'm like, oh, how funny is that this is the biggest moment of my career. And Paul Giamatti's like, this is something I got to do right now.
Right.
He's probably so upset he left early, though. Missed out. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
He'll know later. Like, oh, why?
He'll know. There'll be at some point.
He's like, it could have been me, the supermodel, and Pete Lee. It's all three of us holding hands and jumping at the end, and just puppies surround you, and it's just a big warm hug. That's a Pete Lee show.
I'm sorry, Amir comes in and then jumps with you guys also.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah.
Here's what I'm kind of wanted to ask you is, when Jimmy takes off and he runs up in the audience, I would have did the same. I would have went on the other side.
Oh, just go run right after him.
I'm sure people, if they gave you a standing ovation, they would have loved to have met you.
Oh my God. I would I would have absolutely loved it. You know what? I bet that's happened at some point. And the reason, so there's like these handlers that like, first of all, they all know that you're like confused, and it almost feels like you're at the 4-H fair and there's a bunch of people like blocking, like, this cow can't go through that gate. And there's people that as soon as Jimmy runs up the stairs, they like, because they take you out for this warm up, and you can go through your whole set, or you can kind of take them through the peaks and valleys audio wise, and then just like kind of walk the stage. They let you, they're like, you can walk around the whole stage, because they say that that's like an animal thing, where if you walk the perimeter, you won't be nervous during it. And they kind of understand, like, there are a lot of like theater people who have learned that as a, you know, as a tool, that they'll be coming on just to be interviewed as an actor, and they'll be like, can I walk the perimeter? Can I walk the stage? Sure. And so they let me do that. But when at the very end of it, they're like, okay, so when you're done, you need to remember that you're going to walk this way, and then you're going to hand this person the microphone. And so that thing that you're talking about, I would have had to like, you know, when like NFL linemen like swim through people.
Yeah.
I would have had to swim through a producer and probably knock them over if I wanted to do that.
Like, I'm going up the stairs too.
But I feel like Jimmy would have been totally cool with it if he loved you that much, you know?
Yeah, I feel like at the top of the stairs, Jimmy would have been like, "Oh, hey, Pete.
Hey, you go that way now.
We're at the top of the stairs now. This is pretty great."
Rob, that was not part of the manifestation, the secret. If he had put in, then I go up the stairs with them, right, it was already the most detailed. So that was what you were missing. The producer would have just like fallen down, and
you did not get ridiculous with me enough.
Yeah. Also, the only other detail that I will say with that, and I know that in comedy we yes and we don't know but if I am going to give another reason why that didn't happen, that's sort of fun to play with in this game. The suit that I had on was a standing suit. It was not a sitting suit. It was also not a walking upstairs suit. Like, I would have split the butt crack of that suit if I would have tried to walk up one step. I remember people being like, what, like, you know, the old Tonight Show days, like, what if he waves you over to the couch? And I, on my third appearance, I got waved over to the couch, and I got to sit and say goodnight there. And I remember that suit was stretchy, but the first suit, if I would have tried to sit down, it would have been like just like stiff as a board. Like I would have split my pants and then be like, well, this is where I need to stay.
That's awesome. Amazing. I don't want to I actually got to work with Jimmy opened for me once at the Tempe Improv.
Whoa.
It was, he was just coming in for the week, and they said, hey, Jimmy's gonna go up. He's gonna be, it was right before he got the Tonight Show. So he was going around the country just doing quick sets to get comfortable doing monologues and stuff. So he went up and would do like only like 10 or 15 minutes, but he'd crush. And then it was just like how you said, the way he set it up was like, you could not crush after him.
Yeah. He's a helper. I mean, he's an improviser and a sketch person, and it's all about teamwork and them setting the table. And it's like you really learn to share the stage in that world. And that I remember that time period when because he was going around to all the clubs in New York City. And sometimes he'd bring his guitar. Sometimes he would like just do stand up just by himself. And I was in the room with him a few times, and it was funny how vulnerable he was. He was like, "Hey guys, I know you guys are, you guys are like really cutting edge stand ups, and I'm trying to get back into it. And I've just never seen anybody be more respectful of the craft." And it really reflects in how he has comedians on the Tonight Show. He has very regular comedians. He has there's a dedicated segment producer just to comedians, which a lot of other shows don't have. And then, the fact that he like went out and scouted comedians himself, I feel like in terms of stand up, it's the best one of the late night shows in terms of the host being down with stand ups.
I mean, all the positive things I've heard about him, and us talking about openers before, I think I'm going to ask Jimmy if he wants to feature for me on my next tour. I just feel like, I mean, he did a good job with Rob, so he knows what that's like. But I mean, I think I think I could. Yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to take a pay cut a little bit, but I think it'll be good.
That would be so fun to do a tour where your opening act is somebody just insanely famous. That is such a funny game, Tommy.
It's like Jimmy, then Chappelle next. And,
he did well. I got two of those. Now you just brought up two stories, Tommy. I don't know if you knew this, Pete, but I was up for SNL one year.
Of course you were.
Jimmy actually gave me a raving review. And he was like, there's nobody like you on there. It's going to be great. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I had 3 callbacks for it. And not once did I go to the show to audition.
Yeah, they do a lot of auditions at comedy clubs.
Yep, that's what it was.
And apparently the auditions for the show are very across the board, not the same. I've heard stories from people where they're like, I had to go into Lauren's office and sit with him, and he asked me one question, and you're like, what was the one question? He was like, what's your favorite food? And they're like, what's your favorite food and why? And then they're like, this is all hanging on this. I have a friend that had to go in to meet with Lauren, where he was like busy with something else, like quietly working. And he's like, come on in, come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sat down in the chair, and then he's like, one moment while I finished what I'm doing. And then he finished so could you just imagine trying not to breathe loud while Lorne Michaels calmly finishes his work? And then you know that you're about to be asked questions, like you're in the waiting room, but the waiting room is 3 feet away from him.
Mm-hmm.
That would feel insane. So I've heard of people that are like, yeah, apparently he was in the room and I didn't know. And then I got a call and it was Lauren being like, would you like to be on SNL?
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Random.
Yeah, I got that
nuts.
call. I was picked. picked to be, and it was the same year Sarah Palin came out.
Oh,
So
wow.
Tina Fey and all of them stayed, and I got screwed.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy how entertainment works? Sarah Palin, which hold on, my brother was calling me. Do you ever get that where somebody calls and like with Mac, like with Mac to iPhone, then your computer's like, we're in a call, and your phone's like, we're in a call, and I'm like, I'm on a podcast. I'm getting tits and calls all over the place.
There's like your Lorne Michaels interview.
Yeah,
there's the name of your new special, Tits and Calls.
Tits and calls, tits and phone calls. But yeah, like something. Sarah Palin was like a kind of a like an anomaly in the world, that she came out and she was kind of wild and likable, and I don't share the same political beliefs as her, but she like changed pop culture for a little while.
Yeah.
And
really Tina changed pop culture is what it was. She did it all. But I hated her so bad.
Yeah.
Ruined my life.
Damn you, John McCain, for choosing her as a
I know it. I just want to point out, I know we're getting kind of late here, and we appreciate you staying with us all this time. I just want to point out, I know Tommy's got a ton of stuff. We might have to have you back, Pete.
I would love that.
Yeah, we've got to wrap up soon.
Let's podcast.
We should do
another podcast.
Can I just say, I want to point out a couple jokes that I just thought were phenomenal. The Y chromosome with a curve, super funny. The hunting for bargains, I wrote down and then right after that you go, yeah, that's a good one. I was like, I've done that, and I'm like, I just think it's so funny when you come out. It's like you're coming out of the character almost to tell the audience, like, I'm with you. I feel the same way. I'm laughing at it too. Yeah,
breaking the wall.
Yes. And then when the feminist chip in the card reader.
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
All those got me, man.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. Like, seriously, coming from you, that means so much to me. And I appreciate that.
And then as a technical guy, being an old school web developer, that was my job before stand-up. Why do you not have Pete Lee? I think I know why you don't have .com. It's because some stupid company owns it.
Well, so there was a guy in England. There is a fun story behind this. Of course, I have fun stories for. My new girlfriend is learning that I have a story for everything, and luckily she's a great listener, and her tits are amazing. But so I'll like back in the day, I was like, I'm gonna get a website. Like, you know how now you're like, I'm gonna upload a video to Instagram and get likes and it's gonna go viral. I was like, man, once I get this website, my career is really gonna take off.
I was the first guy in Detroit to have a website. And guys used to say they were opening for my website.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Because it was a huge deal. It was a gigantic deal to have a website. And then you being a web developer, like you understood the ins and outs of it. And then I also worked in the web space because I worked at Martin Williams Advertising in Minneapolis, and I lied to get the job. I told them that I had a lot of web experience. I had a little bit because I had a minor emphasis in it in school, but I just didn't. Every 6 months, the programming would turn over, and then I didn't know anything. So I wound up running the web department there, and then I was like, okay, well, I have this Mac, this Mac computer. I'm gonna make my own website, and I made the shittiest website on the planet. Now in hindsight, it's like it was terrible, and I think I had like a serif font, like on everything. And anyway, so I created the email address pete@petelee.net. And then I was petelee.net, and there was this British research scientist that he had petelee.com. So I reached out to him from pete@petelee.net, and I was like, hey man, I'm Pete@petelee.net, and I'm a comedian, and I'm wondering if I could give you some money and we could maybe trade websites, because I really want to have petelee.com. I see a bright future in entertainment, And he writes back to me, and he's like, you fucker. He's like, you think like he literally used the one word in comedy that, like, when you say it, like the C word. He like called me that right off the bat.
Whoa.
Which, like, apparently is like very common in England. Yeah. But I was like, whoa, he really went from 0 to 100. And anyway, he was like, how do you think that your stupid comedy skits are more important than my research? I post my research to this page. And I was like, well, I think you have a point. But if you ever reconsider, please tell me the website. I would love that. Or, if you're ever not doing, why do you think that I would ever not do my research? And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, every sentence that he wrote should have been like, why do you think I shouldn't do my research, Dad? This guy was so angry right off the bat. And so I think I wrote to him, and I was like, okay, man. So how about fuck you? How about that?
And you kind of retaliated.
I kind of retaliated. Then I get a message from him a few months later, and he was like, hey, because I was like young and single and on the road, and like opening for great comics and female attention, and going on radio shows. And I was getting a lot of people who would go to my website, and then they click at Pete@petelee.net. And then they would send me emails, and like there were some women that would like send me tit pics, or they would, I was selling shirts after my show, and it'd be like my shirt, and then the next one would be like tits, like that same shirt, but here's my tits. And so apparently some of them, they would like see Pete@petelee.net on the website, and then they would type in Pete@petelee.com, because I think they were like, why would any idiot have .net and not .com? So his email address was Pete@petelee.com. So all of a sudden, this guy's starting to get a bunch of crazy tit pics, or like, hey, what are you doing later? Hey, it was fun talking to you. What are you doing later? All those kinds of things. And so he messages me, and he's like, hey, my wife went through my email, and she's seen all these like tit pics and all, like, and he's like, could you do me a solid, mate, and just like change your email address so that it's not close to mine. And I was like, oh, so, well, why don't you just trade me websites? Like, why don't you
call them the C word?
Yeah, you C word. And I was like, why don't we just rectify this, and you have a completely different website with a completely different email, and I'll pay you. And he was like, fuck off. So I started going on radio shows. I remember I went on Todd and Tyler in Omaha, and I told them that story. And then they were like, so send all the nudie pics and like all the emails being like, I love your research. Here's my tits. Like, so women started completely, and then they would blind copy me on the email.
Nice.
And so I was also getting them, and I was like, this is amazing. They just started trolling this guy so hard. So then the guy, like, eventually he stopped doing his research. He stopped doing whatever. And he, to spite me, there was this other comedian down in Tampa named Pete Lee, who like, I would say the first 2 minutes of his,
that.
Yeah, there was this the first 2 minutes of his stand-up was like all trashing me as Pete Lee. And I finally reached out to him and I was like, hey man, I was like, we don't have a beef. And he goes, well, the guy in England sold me his website, or like he's letting me use the domain because I'm Pete Lee, the comedian. And then he said that he would sell it to me if I just like made a video in my stand-up of like trashing you. But he's like, I really like you. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, will you transfer the, the DNS info over to me and like I can have that website? Because I was like, I'll pay you to fuck this guy over. And he was like, I can't do that. And he's like, I won't do that. I was like, all right. So then that went away. And then now PeteLee.com is still just sort of out there. But I think this guy's not even posting his research, but it must be in his will that like his trust will keep PeteLee.com and never sell it to me. But I want it.
Because I looked it up and I was looking because you can look up and who owns it and all this stuff. And I'm like, it looks like it's a business that owns it. It says,
really?
Because I kept the page up because I was like, I'm going to help them get this.
I'm gonna look it up right now too, and if it's available, finally,
Business Services Limited.
That's my research company. I do research for that.
Yeah, so that's that's the only thing on the page is the type. If you look at the HTML and in the source code, that's all you can see, and it says Business Services Limited.
Yeah,
when I go to Network Solutions to look up the person, you can't. It's all he's got it hidden.
He's got it hidden. It's still this guy. He's still alive. Right now, I tried to go to PeteLee.com. It says not secure, and then it gives me just a blank page. Like my thing won't tell me anything. Like it's just fully, it's bogus. But yeah, so this guy, think about that. That was back in 2001. Wow. So this guy has had 20 years of hatred for me.
That's impressive. That's probably the one that there's not many people that hate you. So he's really started early and he dug in.
Yes.
Do you even know what he looks like or anything?
I have no idea what this guy looks like. But there is international hatred for me coming from this guy, and I can't get PeteLee.com because of it.
But they can find you at PeteLee.net, right?
Yes. PeteLee.net. And like I gave out my email address, but anybody can email me at pete@PeteLee.net if you want to. I may or may not respond. I'm a nice guy. I'm kind, but
we have nice listeners, buddy. We keep it. Yeah. We normally keep it clean. We let you cuss this time, but
this is gonna be such a wild episode for the full nation. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna get a full inbox of tits, and then now Nicole is gonna be like, "Hey Pete, I send you tits, and then why are there so many tits in your inbox?"
I don't think our listeners are those type of people, but if they are, if you don't mind sending them back to us, that would be
great. Kind woman tits. Those are the best kind.
Do you have stuff you want to your special?
So please watch my special. It's on Showtime. You can do it Showtime on demand or Showtime anytime. Showtime's kind of unique in that it's a TV network, but it also is a streaming platform. So this is going to be up for the next 2 years. It's called Tall, Dark, and Pleasant. You can go under their comedy section and watch it.
I also loved on your special how the colors. Did you have input on all that?
Purple.
Yeah,
the purple and.
Yeah, like a lot of times when like the comedian is always the executive producer of the special, and I've been a TV producer, along the way as well, and so like I took that role. I was like very hands-on, and I did like I was very hands-on with all of that, and so I taped it at the Tempe Improv where Jimmy Fallon opened for you.
Oh yeah. It looked it looked very intimate, actually. So did they must have curtains and stuff up around the?
Yeah, well, they were like, we need to make this look as nice as, or I told them, I go, let's make it look as nice as possible, but I realized that our production budget is very low. So I, as the executive producer, I also have to help manage the budget. And so I was like, how much do purple velvet curtains and piping cost? And could you put them up all around the visual parts of the room and just transform this place into what looks like a show palace?
Mm-hmm.
And then on stage, I put these like drop down lights, and I think those drop down lights were, I think they rented them for like $27 each. And then, and then they created a really amazing lighting scheme within the room that accented the curtains. And then there was you could only see it, but there was like a projection on the ceiling of this like cool, like almost like roof of a theater, but in lights. It was so cool. And I have to give a shout out to Comedy Dynamics and Brian Volkweiss. Like, they did a killer job with it. And they really do a great job with specials. And but there are comedians that I've seen do specials where they're like, yeah, I did my special, and it's a theater, and there's like the black curtain background that's in the back of the theater, and then they put down a rug, and then they're like, it's just my stand-up, which is fine. But I also think that, especially in this day and age where it's like internet clip, I wanted to make something that looked like a classic comedy special, just sort of like honor that format. It's the same reason why I wear a suit on the Tonight Show, because I want to honor the format. And,
the special looked phenomenal, and it was phenomenal with the jokes.
Thank you.
No, it was really all around good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I liked how the purple kind of reflected off the subtleties in your jacket too. Like, there was some texture to it, and I was like, oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, your outfit was good. Yeah. Gosh, so cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that jacket, I ordered it special from London, and it was a custom jacket where I had picked out, I like, you could go on their website. It's called contrado.com, and you can basically make custom bomber jackets. Like, we could literally make a bomber jacket that is your two faces on it, and it's just like a repeating pattern.
I know. Tommy and I look at each other and what?
Yeah, like, you could take a picture of your memories board and then make it into a bomber jacket, and they'll put it on to anything.
And Rob Little's Christmas gift is ordered.
It is ordered. With that like comedic fake typing, I hope that you just sent a weird message to somebody. That's
nope, the ball's picked. Just flew out. My dad's gonna be mad. Should we let Pete Lee go? I feel like we're holding him hostage.
I want to promote this weekend. I'm going to be at the Blue Room in Springfield, Missouri. Weekend after that, Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Des Moines Funny Bone, October 15th and 16th. You can get all those dates at petelee.net, and then also follow me on social media at Pete Lee.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Pete.
This was absolutely wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Bye, Pete.
All right. Bye, guys. All right. Love you. Bye.
Well, that concludes our episode, part 2, with the very funny Pete Lee. That was so fantastic. So many amazing stories.
The Tonight Show one blew my mind, man.
Yeah, just manifest it. That's all you need. If you want something, just put it out there, and then maybe he'll get his website too. If he just keeps working at it, it would be nice. He'll get the .com.
Have you ever listened to that secret or read it or anything?
Oh yeah, I knew all about the secret because I worked for Barnes and Noble, so it was a huge seller forever. And then I just was like, I want to open for Rob. Like, maybe I'm not doing big enough secrets, but I gotta manifest some better stuff.
I never read it, but I kind of thought that way when I started comedy. I wanted to put it out there, and then it happened, and I always go, man, just like you said, I go, I wish I would have dreamed bigger. I need to be more ridiculous. But at the time, doing comedy from a one-night town seemed like a huge, ridiculous idea. So
yeah, but it's still time.
It's still time. I love your positivity, Tommy. You always remind me to keep positive, no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. And dude, where are you? Where are you headed this week? Are you gonna do comedy?
Yeah, I'm going back to Michigan, and I'm doing like a couple one-nighters, but one of them's at a bar that I called the Will Lou in Bay City, Michigan. I think I even tried bringing you with me to that one time, but It is like one of those one-liners you cannot wait to do because it's always awesome. And then I'm doing a big fundraiser for they've been doing it for like 15 years, and it's for a guy that I went to school with that passed away. And so yeah, but it's another one of those things. It's in my hometown, so of course it will be super fun again. So cool. Yeah, what about you, bud?
I'm September 10th. I will be in Grand Forks, Minnesota, at this new Prohibition Comedy Clubs. At Spuds is the name of the restaurant. It's at our bar where the club is open. But yeah, so that's that'll be up on my website at TommyRyman.com. That's what I have. I have the .com one.
You do, so, yeah, as do I, RobLittle.com. That's awesome. So cool, buddy. Well. Yeah. You want to close us out, man?
I will. This is it. This has been another episode of A Little Tom Foolery. And I just want to thank you so much for listening and watching. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe if you can. That would be amazing. Share. Also, we have a Patreon. Did you know we have a Patreon, Rob? You get you get bonus things if you join the Patreon. You get we have posters. You can join for as little as $1, and then up from there, starting at $5, you get that's when you get the sweet poster signed by Rob and I. But yeah, please follow us on all of our Instagrams, Facebook, you know it, and listen to us where you get your podcasts. Tell your friends. But this has been another episode of A Little Tom Foolery. I'm Tommy Ryman. This is Rob Little. Bye, fools.
Bye, Fool Nation.